Good evening, everyone. Hope you all are doing absolutely well. It is an extreme privilege and an honor and a blessing to be with each one of you this evening. I'm grateful to the Lord for allowing us to convene once again for conversation with the Covenant Brothers. As you may recall, this is the vision the Lord gave me last year for me and my four Covenant Brothers to bring to live our conversation that we have on the daily basis. And we venture from topic to topic, trying to really share with each of you just some real life situations that all of us experience, some real life scenarios that we all go through, but also just being very honest in conversation about those matters as well. I'm grateful for the chance to be able to bring this conversation together. Tonight, we're going to have another great discussion. Tonight, we're going to be talking from the topic of family first, the importance of family, especially the father. We just concluded Father's Day 2 Sundays ago. And a lot takes place in America when it comes to Father's Day, some good, some bad. We want to talk about that. Talk about the role of a father, talk about the impact of a father's presence and or absence, right? And so I'm going to bring in here in a few moments my covenant brothers and allow them to be a part of this conversation. As you all know, we try to be who we are always. So we're very open, we're very honest, we're very transparent in our conversation. We do not um, change because the cameras are on. We are who we are, and we're going to be honest in that regard. And so I'm grateful for that. Also, a reminder: the chats are live. And so we are streaming live right now on X, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on YouTube. And so if you're in any one of those platforms, the chats are live. Please feel free to chime in with comments. They'll appear on the screen. They get vetted first, and they appear on screen and make sure they're appropriate. But also, we do allow for you to ask questions, and then those questions will at the appropriate time be brought on screen, allowing for us to answer those questions, or at least provide answers to those questions. I have an ask of you: if you would do us a favor and like and share on whatever platform you're on and encourage others to log on and be a part of this conversation, we would greatly appreciate it. Again, this is who we are. So let me begin to bring everybody on. First and foremost, let me bring on my dear brother, Dr. Bernard E. Hudson from the Arnett Chapel Episcopal Church, African American Episcopal Church in Quincy, Florida. Bernard, what's going on, brother?
Not much, man. Just glad to be here today. Excited about this conversation. I know we say that each time, but this one hits a little bit different. So
That's right.
excited about it.
Thank you for being on, man. What's new with you, man?
Not much. Just trying to get over the reality of getting done with school and trying to get settled in and thinking about where we're going to go next with church. We're getting ready to come up on our general conference, which is going to be in August in Columbus, Ohio. So
Okay.
that's where the general church comes to meet. We decide about laws, elect officers and bishops and things like that. So preparing for that.
Awesome, man. Awesome, man. Well, grateful you on tonight, man. Next on, we're going to bring on my brother Roosevelt Rogers III. He is the pastor of the Old Jerusalem Missionary Baptist Church in Havana, Florida. What's going on, Ro?
Everything good, man. How's it going?
All is well, brother. What's new with you?
Nothing much, man. Just trying to maintain, getting ready for our Full Gospel Fellowship Conference in July. So we'll be heading out in a couple of weeks for our Full Gospel Conference.
Awesome, man. Awesome, man. Well, thanks for being on, bro. Looking forward to this conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Next up, we have Pastor Richard Ash II of the Net Church of God in Christ in Quincy, Florida. What's going on with you, Ash?
Man, I'm good. How you doing? How you doing?
Doing well, my brother. Good, man. Thanks for being on, man. What's new with you?
Oh, no, this life really.
I
Ain't
hear
nothing
you.
pretty much changes. One as the I am now the old folks, one day at a time. That's
I hear you,
it.
brother.
One day at a time. One day at a time, bro. That's
Man,
it.
I appreciate you being on, man. Looking forward to our conversation tonight. And then lastly, we're
Definitely.
going to bring on Pastor Julius Harris of the New Jerusalem Missionary Baptist Church in Havana, Florida. What's going on, Jay?
Brother Raymond, what's happening, man? Looking
All is
forward
good, brother. How you doing?
Man, doing well, man. Doing real good. A
What's
little
new with you,
tired,
man?
but
What's new with you, man? What's new with the church?
man, things are well, man. Of course, I just celebrated 18 years, so man, I'm
Yeah,
excited, man, to get back to teaching, and man, I'm looking forward to just sharing. Really on Wednesday nights, man. I'm excited about my Bible study, man. So I'm looking forward, man, to just really, just having that time with the people, man. Just kind of sit down, man, and just have just some real good study time.
I love it, man. I love it. Thank you, brothers, for being on, man, and being a part of tonight's conversation. I'm looking forward to it, man. As I share it with the viewing audience, and so I'm going to encourage you all, if you will, if you're watching, to please share and encourage other people to get on and be a part of our conversation tonight. We'll make sure that we get this live on each one of you all's platforms as well. Tonight, we're going to continue on in another topic that I think is very, very important for each of us. So we're going to talk about family first, the importance of family, especially the father. But Father's Day just passed, right? We did Father's Day 2 Sundays ago. And the presence of a father or the absence of a father has a major impact on family. So tonight we're going to talk through a few questions, man, and really allow my brothers to speak truth to power to how they feel about not only the topic, but the questions in that regard. And so let me open up with this. It's not a question, it's on my mind. I'm starting with you, Bernard, man. When you hear about the importance of family, disregard the father part right now. Just focus on family, the importance of family. What comes to mind for you?
Family is big for me, and probably if I had my wife on tonight to have a chance to talk, she'd tell you that I didn't have a big family coming up, but family meant everything to me. And so that togetherness, that support of one another. I mean, we weren't that kind of family. Sometimes you get those stories about how, siblings fall out and they don't talk to one another. I've never had that to happen with my brother. That was how my mom raised us. She raised us to be, tight, close knit. And so family is big for me. Family means a lot for me. Family is what you ought to be able to lean on when nothing else can come through for you. And so that's what I think about. I think about being close knit. I think about being together when you mention family.
I love that. I love it. Ash, man, what do you think about when you think about the importance of family?
Oh man, family is very important to me. It was really instilled in me and my dad. I seen how he took care of us, as well as not just the immediate family, but our whole family. My dad was that uncle for everybody else who knew that Uncle Richard was gonna be there, and that kind of trickled down to me that I always wanted to make sure that we there for one another. It's so important. The love and the closeness, because we have a connection with family that no one else can have. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
I don't have any physical brothers, but I have two sisters, and I love both of them dearly, and so that trickles down from how my grandmother was to my dad, and to my dad to us, and now from me to my family. It means a lot, to have my kids and my granddaughter, and as well as my family. It's an important element to my success. I know I'm not like Bernard. I never had a time where I didn't talk to like my sisters, or they didn't talk to me, and that's a blessing. I never had a time where I didn't talk to my dad or didn't talk to my mom, and that's a blessing. And as well as I was sitting with both of them yesterday, just sitting there, just soaking up time, getting older now as well. Time is of the essence. It's important, just to have those times where it don't have to be a special occasion, but just sitting there soaking up, just in their presence. So, family is very important to me.
I love that, man. I love that. What about you, Jay?
Oh man, everything, bro, everything. When I think of family, I think of just unconditional love, man. Your family know the real you, and man, they don't want anything from you. They love you, man, unconditionally. No strings attached. Man, they love you for who you are, man. I mean, when I think about me pastoring, man, I have the privilege of pastoring my family, man, and
Yes,
so
sir.
and they are some of my greatest supporters. My mom, my sister, man. Other than my household, of course, but my mom, my sister, my brother, my uncle, aunts. So man, it's just a blessing, man, to be able to have that, man, and they allow me to pastor them, man, which is phenomenal. I'm always humbled by that. But man, I would just say just unconditional love, man, and support with no strings attached.
I love that. Ro, wrap it up to you, man. When you think
Oh,
about family,
okay.
man, the importance of family.
Man, family is everything, man. We only get one.
That's
And so
right.
we have to really um, prioritize our investments in them, man. You know, one of my struggles, and I'll just be transparent, man. Links in my family have been lost, and so
Ooh,
I've lost my mom, I've lost my sister, I've lost all of my grandparents, and so my immediate family is the world to me, man. And so I just make sure that I try to invest as much time as I can with them. Ash said something key, man. We're getting older, so now I'm trying to prioritize making time to spend with my family. Being here um, in the area where we live, and my family. My twin brothers in South Florida, my dad and my stepmom there in Jacksonville. So just trying to make sure I prioritize time to get with them, man. But family is everything. I think everybody's pretty much said that.
I love that, man. I love that. So Jay said something that I can relate to, and I think most of us can on here. I think all of us actually that we pastor, if not all, a good portion of our family, right? Whether it's siblings, whether it's our parents, whether it's a combination of that. And so I come from a huge family, especially the McGee side. We're a huge family, a tight knit family. So I love being around family. I love the fellowship. I love the conversation, interaction. I even love the dysfunction that comes with family, man. Even the disagreements and the bickering. I find laughter and joy when I'm watching two family members get really loud and at odds with each other, whether it's over reminiscing on something, whatever it may be. To me, it's always fun, but I also love watching that next generation, my children, my nephews, my nieces, watching them come up, man, and really watching them build their rapport, their relationships. It's everything. So tonight, as we've opened up with that, man, I want to push us into the role of the father as it relates to family, right? And so, as I aforementioned, we just concluded Father's Day, and man, depending upon how people view fathers, man, we either really indict the role of a father and speak very ill of them, man, or we try our very hardest to promote that and encourage that. Um, it is true there are some fathers who have checked out on their responsibilities and they've moved on and doing other things and that left the child to be raised by the mother or someone else. That part's true, but not everybody's doing that, right? And so tonight, I want us to really have an honest conversation, man, because the absence and or presence of a father is major to family, right? And I think sometimes we don't think about that. We think about Mother's Day, man. From the church perspective, we go all out on Mother's Day, right? Most churches do. We make sure that the mothers know how important they are, and we brag on that. When a young man scores a touchdown, he gets drafted, right? He looks in that camera, hey, mama, I love you, mama, thank you, mama. When it comes to that father, man, it may or may not be good, right? Think about Father's Day at some churches. We may pause and say, all the fathers, please stand. But as far as stopping a full service to really honor fathers, we don't see that consistently in that regard. And this is not a night of bashing mothers. It's really trying to speak to what that impact looks like. And so each of us on here, we are fathers. Each of us on here have been blessed to have children at varying ages. All three of Ash's children and all three of Jay's children and the one child of Bernard, all of them now are post high school years. Ro, one of your two children is post high school years. I now have a son post high school year, but Ro, we still have. I have an upcoming ninth grader. We have an upcoming 11th grader, right? And so we're in different phases. Ash and Jay are also grandparents, so the next generation is coming. And so you're really now seeing even more of what that looks like. So for that first question, man, what do you believe the role of the father is in the family? And Ash, I want to start out with you, man. When you think about father, I always love hearing you talk about your father, your relationship with your father and his impact. So what do you believe the role of the father is in the family?
And to me, the father is paramount. He is the. Love mom. I'm a mom's kid. I love my mama to death. Matter of fact, I say I saw her yesterday, and she was trying to cook me breakfast while she was going to go to brunch with some of her friends, and she trying to cook me breakfast. So don't get me wrong. I love my mom. My mom loves me, but I was raised with a strong father. You know what I'm saying? And I believe, especially for us as black men, as black ministers, and have kids, it is of the utmost importance to have a father there. And don't get me wrong, I'm a realist. I understand sometimes relationships may not work out, but that has no excuse on you being a father to that child. It's your child, and you should let nothing get in between you and being the father that that child needs. And that's not being with the mother. There's no excuse. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear no excuse. And I know for me, like having a strong dad that was there and always been there for me. Even Father's Day that week, I posted a picture of my dad when I was a toddler, and I posted a picture of me and him that Saturday. And I was thankful from the time I was born. Now I'm 51 years old. My dad has always been there. You see what I'm saying? Always been there for me. Always been someone I could talk to, someone that talked to me even when I didn't want to hear. You know what I'm saying? I did not want to hear, but always was there with instruction. Even when he messed up and he had to apologize for something, he showed me that. So to me, dads are paramount for us as our families because they're the head of our families. And what I believe the problem now in our communities is because we don't have the head where it's supposed to be. The head of the family is lost. You know what I'm saying? Or taking a back seat or not being in the position that he's supposed to be in. So for me, fathers are important. We would never be able to compete with mom. Never. And nor are we trying to. But the way sometimes in our community we have taken the father out, and the father himself has walked out. It is I believe the whole crux of the problems in our community, I believe, can go back to our fathers not being there.
So Ash, I can't let you pass up without pressing that point, right? Where you
Mm-hmm.
ended at about the crux of the family and the
Mm-hmm.
father not being there. Before I pass it on to my next
Mm-hmm.
brother, man, I need you to push that point a little bit further for those who may not fully understand what you mean by that. Go ahead and finish that thought. I think that's important.
I believe this here. Our sons are joining gangs at rapid rates, looking for love from a OG, looking for love from someone older because they don't have love. They have not been shown love from the father. I go back to this. All of us in here used to watch or have watched Good Times, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And the whole time during Good Times, who was James trying to keep JJ from? The gangs in the neighborhood.
That's right. That's right.
It was hard for them to get to JJ and Michael because James was there. You see what I'm saying? That father
Yeah.
being there and being present in that family is a security. It's a protection that cannot be denied when that man is there. I've told this story plenty of times. I work for the sheriff's office. I've done evictions where the young lady was getting evicted and the dude just got his PlayStation, got his Jordans, and walked out the back door and left her and the kids to just fend for themselves. You see what I'm saying? How do you, this is what I don't understand. How do you get evicted with a man standing there? But it is not a man. And I think that's what the problem is. A lot of times our community are not seeing good examples. That's why I thank God for y'all brothers are good examples of what fathers are. Our daughters need us, man. Who is the first one to show your daughter what it
Yes,
means
sir.
to be loved unconditionally?
Yes,
You
sir.
know what I'm saying? Take her out to eat and looking for nothing in return. You see what I'm saying? Show her how she should be treated. Who does she see we treat our wives with the utmost respect and the utmost love, and that being our daughters see that. And that's different than what they're watching on television. That's different than Real Housewives that ain't wives, ain't none on married. You see what I'm saying? So that father in that life, to me, and I believe this personally, is the most important piece because the head of the family is not there. If God is the head and the man follows God, then the family falls in line. And the reason why I think a lot of things that are going on in our communities, the way it's going on is you can look back to, because we've been passionate for a little while. We grew up in church. We knew families that we knew the lady. We knew she was married. We never seen the daddy. Never.
Come on now.
Never seen him. But let me tell you something. When you got a church with strong men,
Yes, sir.
you got a church that men bring their children to church. You got a church that the men are praisers. Man, it's powerful. It's
Yes, sir.
powerful. It's powerful when the man is where he's supposed to be. And I believe we have drinking the Kool-Aid, if you would, of the world, thinking that I don't have to do that, or because things get hard, or because I'm like, well, I preached last week. Watch where you plant your seed there. See, what will happen is you're gonna plant your seed in the wrong places,
Mm-hmm.
and that starts with the man. That's on you, and we have to take responsibility. Go back to the beginning. I'm gonna get off this. Go back to the beginning. It wasn't Eve's fault. The Bible said Adam was not deceived. It was on Adam. It's on you, bro. God gave you the law, gave it to us, and then when we fumble it and don't do what we're supposed to do, then look, we get kicked out of paradise. So that's it.
Bernard, man, why don't you jump in, brother? Why don't you jump in on that question, man? What do you believe the role of the father is in the family?
Man, I just been sitting here. Ash has so much. I just been sitting here writing down all kind of notes. I wanna go back to one thing when you talked about family. I want to add is that just in general, when I think about family, I think about authenticity. I can be me with my family. I don't have to be pastor with my family. I don't have to be, whatever. I don't have to be any of those things. And it's so crazy because my mom, and she probably watching tonight, so I'm gonna say this. My mom still at times called me boy. And it's not to mean anything negative or derogatory. I joke a lot of times. I say she called me boy so long to one time I thought my name was boy. But that's who I am to her. My brother still calls me by my nickname. And so, just being able to be authentic. So I did want to add that. But I think what Ash said is that the father is paramount. I mean, you cannot, and this is no slight to any of the women who have done it as single mothers. My hat goes off to you. My mom did it as a single mother, raising two boys. My hat goes off to her. And I know it's a Herculean job, but there is still something missing. Just like Ash said, there are things that man's presence brings about.
Yes, sir.
That
Yes,
the
sir.
strongest woman by themselves can't do by themselves. And a lot of times, because that man is absent, you have children that grow up trying to figure out what normal is, trying to figure out what is life supposed to be. And so then we end up with generational curses. And I'm gonna be transparent for a moment. With my dad didn't, and God rest his soul, didn't know how to be a dad because he didn't have his dad. His dad died when he was younger. He saw his dad die before his eyes. And so to grow up and to try to be something he didn't have as a template before him is something that a lot of what I believe our young men are seeing. And that's why we have like this, it seems like it's a never ending cycle that's happening in our communities because our young men don't have that template. And Ash, he talks about, how fortunate he was to have his dad there. That's not everybody's story. So people have to struggle with that, trying to figure out, well, what is normal? What should this thing look like? And so if you're not determined to do things differently, to see things happen differently, you can fall into that same thing. And I want to go to something. I'm currently doing some marital counseling for a couple. I did some a few weeks back, and we married them. And one of the things that we emphasized on was what God ordains to be marriage, and what that man should be, and what that woman should be. And I'm going to say something and probably going to raise the hairs on people's head, but God intends for the man to be the head. Now, I want you to understand that when I say be the head, I'm not talking about the man being superior and the woman being inferior, but I'm talking about a man leading as God leads him. And when we step out of that role, then we can't expect anything to go right. Even if we limp along and it happens to fall into place, it's only a matter of time when we get out of that role, get out of that posture that God wants us to be in, because God has a setup for the family. He has a setup. He has what he wants it to look like. And I know we're going to get into that a little bit more, but when we don't do it right, then we start a generational curse that somebody has to be intentional about breaking as they go forward. And if you don't realize you curse, you think what you're going through is normal. And so you
My
continue
God.
to perpetuate the curse until you realize it's something that needs to be broken.
It's gonna be good tonight, boy. I'm excited about this. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Ro, I'm gonna keep you on hold, man. Jay, you come on in, man. We're gonna end up with Ro. But Jay, I see you pressing, brother. Come on, jump in.
No, man, I'm just sitting back like, man, I'm glad we brothers, man. Goodness. I think everybody ought to start off by saying what Ash said, man, that the father, I'll be the third brother to say it, that the father is paramount. Man, that was vital, man. As you nailed it with that, bro. And let me say this first before I say anything, man, that there is no hood like fatherhood.
Come on,
Man,
sir.
there's nothing like it. And for fathers who have abandoned their posts, bro, you're actually losing out. You know, even though I know that kid is missing something, but when you abandon that child, you're missing out on fatherhood, man. I mean, it's a blessing to see a child, man, grow and develop and mature. Man, my boys are young adults now. You know, they're young men. And I just turned 49 Monday. And me and my wife, we pulled out some pictures and we was looking at, you know, pictures from me watching them growing up and to see what they are now. Man, it's just amazing, bro. It's phenomenal. And not only that, to go back and look at pictures and to see that I've been there since day one.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? From holding them in their arms, you know, and sometimes our role kind of shifts. I don't have to hold them now, but, you know, just, you know, kind of, you know, really being there for them and still being present and helping them to navigate life. But again, let me say this. So I think fathers provide leadership. I think somebody said we provide leadership in the home. I think fathers, I think Ash mentioned this, we provide stability in the home. Man, when my doorbell rang, I answered the door. There are certain things that will not happen when somebody knows that there's a man in that house.
Come on, sir.
Not just in the house, but he's the man of the house. Because that's the difference too.
Yes, sir.
You can be a man in the house, or you can be the man of the house. So again, I think to be a father, man, is to be present. And when I mean present, I mean present defined is actively involved in the life of your children. Because you can be absent in the house. And let me be transparent. I mean, there was a time where I thought that, oh man, I'm father of the year because I'm here. But you can still be, here it is, you can be physically present, but you can be emotionally detached from your kids. Something else I want to say, that you don't have to be perfect to be present. I think, man, a lot of guys, you know, man, we think totally different than women. You know, I think a man thinks about, you know, we think about our mistakes, what we did wrong. I mean, all of us probably preach today. As soon as you got out the pulpit, you thought, man, I did say this, I didn't say that, I should have said this. Bro, we just kind of wired that way, man. We think about what we should have, you know what I'm saying? How can we make things right? But I think being present, man, to me is making sure that my sons understand that there's nothing more important than them.
Yes,
Not my calling, not my, you know, my businesses, not what we do, not what we have, man. There's nothing more important than them, man. So I think we have to be selfless. I think fathers, you know, to be a father, man, is to be selfless. And I hate to just kind of sound preachy here, but I do think, and I kind of put this in my notes, but because I wanted to get this out, I think that a father gives their children three things. I think a father gives their kids identity. You know, we affirm them. And I think somebody mentioned that a lot of these children are lost sometimes, not knowing who they are. I think we give that. We provide a sense of identity to our children. We help them to develop, like King said, them having a strong sense of their own somebodyness, being confident. I tell my boys, man, put your head up, be confident, man. Walk in a room and own that room. I think fathers also give their kids instructions. A lot of these boys, man, that are thugs, man, that are just running wild, they really want somebody to sit them down and really tell them what they should and should be doing. They need so here what they're doing, because my dad didn't raise me, he didn't father me, he didn't give me instruction, he didn't tell me what to do. Nobody else can either. And that's, I've had a conversation and somebody told me that, man. So that's what that is. So and then third, I think a father leave their children an inheritance. And I'm not just talking finances here, but I think it's more important what we leave in them than what we leave to them.
Yeah, that's good.
Because if I don't leave the right stuff in my boys, it's not gonna matter what I leave to them. If I don't leave the right stuff in them, what we leave to them won't get to the grandkids. So I think, man, making sure, man, that they understand, man, that there's nothing more important than having Christ in your life. And I know we're talking about fatherhood, but I heard Lecrae say something. He said this as relates to marriage. He said, if you're a man that's married and you don't have God, marriage is gonna feel like prison to you. Bro, man, I love being at home. This ain't prison for me. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes out there prison. so I love what God has blessed me to have, in my house, man. A lot of cats be trying to get away from home. Like, man, no. You can foster an environment in your household where you really want to be there, man. But I just stopped there. But I'm excited, man.
Yeah, man, appreciate that.
That's what fatherhood is, me.
That's right, brother. Ro, you bring us in, man. With
All right,
that same
man.
question, man.
I think as Jay said, Bernard said, we're gonna echo what Ash started off with, saying fathers are paramount. Jay, you took me back to last week's sermon, man, that I preached for Father's Day, man. And I talked about 3 things that fathers do, and I think it's critical. I'm gonna just pick up where you said. The first thing you said, Jay, was they affirm. And so what's interesting, man, is we've got to learn to make sure we affirm our kids before they do anything. Because when God affirmed who Jesus was, he had not performed his first miracle. All he was baptized. When he said, "This is my beloved son whom I'm well pleased," he hadn't done anything. And so I think as parents, as fathers, man, I think it's very important that we do that. I tell people all the time, and Derek, you know how I am at the football games, man. I am Trent's dad at a football game. I'm not Pastor Rogers. I'm not Rev. I'm not Doc. I am Trent's father. And they gonna know Trent's father's in the stands because I'm gonna holler. I'm gonna holler till they hear me, and I make sure I let Trent know that I'm there before the game even starts.
Yes,
My wife get mad, man, but I try to get to the game 30 minutes before the game starts because I want to be there when they warmed up, so I can put my eyes on them so he can see me. And it was the same way when Kayla was cheering, man. I want my kids to know that I am their biggest cheerleader. Acknowledging them, man, speaking to their greatness, speaking to their abilities. One thing that I think as fathers, mothers, parents, we got to make sure we do is not try to live our dreams through our kids.
Say it again.
And let our kids become who they are destined to be. And we're there to help guide and nurture them. And then ultimately, it's our job, and all of us have said it in so many words, we got to make sure we anoint our children. We got to put that seal on them, man. Make sure that they know their name matters. Your name carries weight. Your name should be able to open up doors simply because there's legacy attached to who you are. Many things that I have in life is because of my parents. Ash, I think, when we look at our group, man, I think me and you are the only 2 whose fathers have been active from day one. And there was never a pause with my dad when my parents divorced. you know, and I share this, man. I struggle because I struggle to the opposite. I struggle trying to identify when there is not a father present, because all I know is to have a father present. You know, I moved in with my dad when my parents separated from 7th grade, and I stayed with him until I graduated from high school. And even when in college, I was staying with my dad. So, you know, it's just, we got to make sure that our kids know we love them. I think as fathers, I'm learning, and I don't mean this in a weird way, man. I'm learning to father from a distance. And what I mean by that is my kids always know I'm present, but I'm still allowing them to grow and become who they are. So just you know, we're pillars, we're the foundation, and we're the covering. If I can sum it up, man.
Man, I like that. I like that. You know, I want to segue into the next question, and this one to me probably is the one that's paramount to me, because I see this a lot. Right, that's the one who has been born and raised in church, as many of you have, man, been there the entirety of my life. Um, and then just hearing sometimes conversations that relate to fathers, right? You know, there are times when fathers are beaten down unbeknownst, right? It's just in conversation, they're beaten down, right? Sometimes if you watch movies, sometimes the role of that father in a movie has that father looking weak. He's absent. There's no respect, no regard, so on and so forth. You know, what some people don't realize, when you go to a home of our older generation and you see the woman cooking and then serving her husband his plate, today's times people look at that as control, as bondage. They speak ill of that, not realizing the genesis behind that. What that woman would tell you is she serves her husband that way because that man would leave the house and go out into the world to work and to endure all of the rejection and the impact that came with that. So when he came home, she wanted him to know, not only do I see you, but she wanted him to feel like he was appreciated and was loved and was built up to go back out tomorrow and do it again. So if you don't understand the genesis of something, you look at things through the lenses of your own context, not realizing what that man has endured, what that man experienced. This weekend, the movie Django Unchained was on. And it's always that scene, right, where they're trying to buy back Jamie Foxx's wife, and he's having to watch the way these men are mishandling his wife in that regard. But he's also outnumbered. And you know, if you keep watching the movie, you see what happens, right? He ends up killing all those guys off, and he gets his wife back. But you know, imagine back for those of us in the African American race. Imagine going back to watching not only your family being torn apart, but watching how the slave master would discard and disrespect your bride right in front of your face, right? Where your wife is bearing the child of the slave master. And what are you gonna say about it? And so there's been a lot that men go through, and there's some trauma that goes with it, absolutely. And there are some fathers who have disappeared, and they're out there making babies and not helping to raise the babies. I don't ignore that at all. But I want to lead to this question that I think is so important, and it really is the attack on the father's role. Is it fair or exaggerated by the church and by the world? Because sometimes it's the church that speaks ill of the father, right? They're the ones who will speak ill of situations. So it really is the attack fair? Is the attack exaggerated? Is it as bad as it look? When you only look at things through the lenses of the church and nowhere else, sometimes you can think that everybody sees it that way. But brothers, I want to just have you guys chime in on that, man. Is the attack? Maybe the word attack is an unfair word to use, but is it fair? Is it exaggerated? Sometimes we can read and see when a father has done wrong. All of a sudden, now every father is now indicted. It's like us, those of us being pastors, right? When that one pastor in your neighborhood get caught up for doing something, all of a sudden at the barbershop, now every black preacher is out there doing something wrong, right? People have now decided they want to exaggerate what took place, man. But Jay, I'm gonna come back to you first, man, on this question here.
Okay, bro. Yeah, trying to unmute. Yeah, I agree, bro. I agree. I think that there is an attack on the father's role. Man, listen, raising kids, raising a family, and you guys can attest to this, is one of the most difficult jobs on the planet. man, it's difficult. It's hard. It's not easy. You know, I know a lot of us make it look easy, but it's not. Man, it's not easy, man. And let me say this, I think that you just said it, that there are a lot of fathers, particularly in the African American community, that have abandoned their responsibility, and we got to do better. So we do have to say that we got to do better.
Correct.
Man, we got to step up more. And I think Ash said this, and it's very, very, very true, man. Just because you didn't make it with the mother, you don't have to divorce your kids.
Come on,
Man,
sir.
I have great respect for guys, man, who have divorced, but yet they're still actively involved in their children's life, man. I mean that's phenomenal, man. But sometimes it doesn't always happen that way. But I do think there's an expectation of particularly black men to be Superman, bro. I think we're not often given grace. And man, and I'm not complaining, but this is what we're talking about. But this is a reality. Most women and children, some, only know how to use a man. Only see a man for what he can give, or for what he can do. And I think we've actually been taught that our only job, it is our main job, but it's not our only job. We've been taught that our only job, man, is just to be here for everybody else. And sometimes, man, when you're accustomed and conditioned to taking care of everybody else, I just talked about this on Father's Day, bro. You forget about yourself. Hence, a lot of brothers sometimes can become mad, angry, bitter. You know what I'm saying? I think it was Dr. Robin Smith. She said this. She said, for most black men, we're not even on our own list, man, for self-care. She said we run ourselves in the ground for others.
Jeez.
And most brothers, most men, most fathers, and I'm talking about real ass, like Ash said, I'm talking about real dads. I'm talking about real fathers. I ain't talking about grown boys. I'm talking about real men that really, man, are present and actively involved in the life of their families, man, taking care of their families. A lot of them don't have no idea of what it means to take care of themselves. And so, man, what I want to see fathers, I want to see black men take better care of themselves. Because if I don't take care of me, man, I cannot be there for my wife. I cannot lead her home. I cannot be a great example for my sons if I'm not taken care of. You know what I'm saying? If I'm mad, if I'm bitter, if I'm, you know what I'm saying? No, if I'm always angry all the time, man, sometimes I have to catch myself, man, because, man, I got some Martin in me, but I got some Malcolm in me too, man. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I act like Jesus, and sometimes I act like Frank Lucas. You know what I'm saying? So it just, so I have to watch it, man. I mean, no, seriously, man. I'm being transparent, man. And I was at my mom's house one day, right? And man, she was telling me some stories about my granddaddy, her father. And man, I'm like, man, my granddaddy was Frank Lucas. Seriously, bro. So, and I think, man, you have to really understand the history, man, of our fathers and our grandfathers, man, and to know, what's in our bloodline, man, and so that we don't repeat the same thing. Again, so I wasn't raised by my biological father, but my stepfather did. So I mean, work ethic. He was there, man, since I was 3 years old. And I know we'll get to this kind of later on, but again, so there was a man in my house. But it's still, I think I still grew up, with questions of why my biological father was not there. And I think that's why I have great respect for guys who divorce, but yet still be there for their kids, man, because my dad didn't do that. Now we good now, but growing up, man, I had issues, man. But of course, I did my work, man, went to therapy, Christ in my life, man. I worked really, really hard, man, and still do to this day, man, of making sure, man, that I am a stable man for my household, man, because again, it didn't just happen, bro. And a lot of guys are not doing the work, man. They're just dismissing it, and then they're going over here doing some other stuff. So, drinking and drugging and sexing, man, it's just like, I mean, I don't want to drink because I have to. I want to drink because I want to.
That's good.
Celebrate.
That's good.
Celebrate, man. Milestones, you know what I'm saying?
Good.
but I don't want to feel like I got to run to something because I'm suppressing what's going on in me. And a lot of us, man, got a lot of stuff that's in us that we never look at, bro. We don't even want to look at it. We know it's over there, but we just keep it over there, man. And we close the box and don't do it. So, man, I'm trying to get, guys to, man, really. I just told my middle son this other day, because he was navigating something. I said, listen, son, I said, you cannot fix what you don't face, and you cannot conquer what you don't confront.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared to look in there. I'm right here with you. We're gonna navigate it together. And so being able, man, I told him this. I said, listen, I said, do you think that I always was how I am now? I can't say everything. I can't tell you everything I told him. but I said, bro, I said, listen, son. I said, listen, you saw me, Pastor, but I've been your age, and I think that we have to give our sons the freedom. And I tell them this all the time, man. You don't have to be. I'm 49. I don't expect you to be 49 or to have my mentality at 21, at 20, at 26. I think Rose said that. I give them the freedom, man, to be themselves. Because guess what? We figured it out.
Yes,
By
sir.
the grace of God, man, God took care of us, and He's gonna do the same thing for our kids. But I'll stop right there, bro.
I love that. Bernard, on you, brother.
So I wanna read a quote to you. This is Howard Thurman about Heart and Head. His head and heart. He says, our manhood and that of our fathers was denied on all levels by white society, a fact insidiously expressed in the way black men were addressed. No matter what his age, whether he was in his burgeoning 20s or full of years, the black man was never referred to as Mr., nor even by his surname. And so I'm going back to something I want to say again when I talk about generational. And I want to ask, it's a chicken or egg kind of thing. So are we not there because we started there, or are we not there because of something we saw? And I think it's important for us to think about it that way, because if we don't realize where it started, we're going to repeat it. Dr. Naeem Akbar has a book called Breaking the Psychological Chains of Slavery. And I actually did my master's thesis on it, and it was titled Present in the Pulpit, Absent in the Pew. And it was talking about the black male and where are we in the church. And society has a negative perception, a negative outlook, and negative conversation about the black man when it comes to being father, when it comes to being in that role in the families. But where did that come from? Or am I negative because that's what I saw and that's what people perpetuate on me? Or am I negative because I don't know what it means to be positive? Because I don't have it. I haven't had anything that I can see. And to be honest, that quote that I just read to you goes back to something when we think about what slavery did. We were chattel when it comes to slavery. And they did everything. The black man was used to cultivate. He was used to gather. He was the workhorse. But I got to tear you down psychologically, because all I want you to do is produce. That's getting to something that Jewish just said, because that's the way we're looked at. And so I believe that even in our own culture, we're seen as providers and producers. And if we're not providing and producing every moment, giving everything to everybody who's connected to us, they don't see us as worthy, because our mentalities go back to that moment when we were nothing but chattel, when we weren't worthy of anything, when we didn't have any worth. So if I'm not doing, if I'm not giving, if I'm not providing, then I have no worth. And what ends up happening is that the man himself ends up with psychological issues, because now I feel if I'm not giving, if I'm not providing, then I'm worth less. So now I'm searching for that worth. So I'm going out where like Ash said earlier, with the gang, most times is the place where I can find that word because I can be somebody there. Nobody expects anything from me.
That's good. That's good. Ro, come on in, man. We'll wrap up with Ash. Come on in, Ro.
So Bernard, man, you segued, man, into where I was going when you talked about slavery, man. When you think about it, the fastest way to destroy the family is to remove the male from the house. And so fast forward to the welfare system. You can have a brother who's trying, but he can't be in the house in order for the woman to reap the benefits of the government system. So as soon as that man is back in the house, then those subsidies and those helps are cut off. And so, I think it's an intentional attack, man. So then you further that where, look at all these homes, and Ash talks about it all the time from the law enforcement perspective. When these fathers are locked up, it's a greater chance that their sons will be locked up when those fathers are locked up. And so then let's take it a little bit further. Then you have the independent woman who says, I don't need a man.
I don't need a man.
And I can do this on my own. And so it goes back to what Bernard said. It goes back to what Jay said. If the man ain't producing, if the man ain't giving, then he has no value. A man can buy his. I saw something where a guy went and bought a bunch of shoes for these kids, but because they were not name brand shoes, man, he was ridiculed.
Yeah.
And he spent a boatload of money. I ain't talking about he went out and spent $500. I mean, he spent a large amount of money, but because they wasn't J's or they wasn't this name brand thing, man. So we've been taught, you know what I'm saying? This false narrative about fatherhood is about only being that provider, only being that giver. But I think, man, when we realize the importance of fathers, now we see why they are trying to destroy the father foundation. You know what I'm saying? Because the fathers are the glue.
Mm-hmm.
Moms are nurturers. Moms do great at what they do. But man, when you look at homes where you have both parents that are active in those kids' life and they're in the same home, man, it makes a world of a difference.
You good? You good?
Some music going on in the background, man, so it threw me off.
No, you good.
Okay. But yeah, man. So I just, I think it's an intentional attack, whether it be in the church, whether it be in the community. It's what they're doing, man, to destroy our families.
Here we go, y'all. Richard asked the second. Talk to us, man.
Man, I think each one of you, man, and man, Bernard he kind of messed me up there, man. I might have to go talk to Bernard and just have a sit down with him, because man, he messed me up with one of them. I might have to, this might have to be a talk after. Bernard, I might have to call you, bro. Hey, because that kind of threw me. But back to that question was, is it an attack? And yes, it is. It is an attack. Amen. And I think it's an attack of the devil himself on our people, to the point where, because it's the attack ain't just happened. You see what I'm saying? Rose said something where, okay, you went from, if he was there, then you get assistance, then you can't be there, and then he all this ain't just happened just on happenstance, if you would. And I think what happened even with the church part of this, and I'm gonna be transparent here. When I was growing up in church, I thank God for having my dad there, who was a strong man who believed in men being men. I'm talking about stark, champion for wanting men to be men. I'm talking about, you could not be around my dad and not be a man and not want to be a man. I'm just being honest. He expected that. He instilled that in me, being his only son. But to get to the church sometimes, but when we went to like other churches or larger churches or go to some of these meetings, I was like, man, I never want to be saved if I got to beat a tambourine like a woman and switch around. I don't want that salvation. I didn't.
Hmm.
And I'm being honest with you. I did not. If that's saved, I can't do it. I can't do it. And I think a lot of what happened is a lot of these churches done got so much feminine centered that the men don't matter. I mean, honestly, they don't. And as well as it's almost like when you show up, that testosterone that's in you is like you the devil or something. Because I as a man, I was never taught to take a back seat to nothing. I wasn't. I was taught that you need to be out front. You know what I'm saying? I never hid behind someone else. I think Jay said it. If someone rang your doorbell, like right now, all of us on these live feeds. But if my doorbell ring, I'm
Come on
gonna
now.
pause this and I'm finna go find out what's going on over here. You know what I'm saying? Because that's my responsibility, and I take that responsibility serious. So I think that role has been, and we can look at everything around us. Look at, I mean, when you got a father, I dare say, and I love Derek. 'Cause Derek used to come with some. I don't know what my statistics at tonight, Derek. You
They
ain't gave
coming.
them to me yet. Yeah,
They
okay, because
coming.
I know 70%, more than 70% of our children are born out of wedlock now. Of our children, of black children.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We sitting on here as five brothers with a family and all that, but the majority of the kids did not grow up in a two-parent household. Are not growing up in it. They're not seeing it. I can tell you, we starting to deal with young men who the ladies can get more from them because they ain't never had a male in their life check them. They ain't never had a male in their life instruct them that this is what we're gonna do. Because they've been coddled too much. They've been hugged too much. That's why we need the balance of male and female, husband and wife in the household to nurture these kids. So they're missing out on the male part of this. You see what I'm saying? There, you take your son this past week and drop him off to school. How many more males in that were getting dropped off? Where the dads at?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Showing up to school more so, don't get me wrong. All my kids played a sport. My daughter, all of them did. But I showed up to school for things that had to do with the math and the English too. You see what I'm saying? Because they need to see, you know what I'm saying? They need to see the black man there for more than just standing around the fence and cheering for the teams. And that's important too. Don't get me wrong. That's important too. But what's going on in this child's education right now? What's going on there? Hey, what about the discipline? When a dad shows up, everybody in the class start looking in. It's a difference when you show up, and they want to know whose dad is that. You see what I'm saying? It is important, and I think what happened, that role has been diminished. We can look at the movies. Hollywood now will prefer to have two men playing house than to show a black man with his black wife. I'm sorry. And be the dad and the father, a strong father, not no weak joker, not no joker that's fumbling and bumbling. He just some buffoon that's sitting over there, but actually someone that I can talk to, that I can get instruction from. That, in other words, I like Boys in the Hood. I love that movie because a lot of times people miss a lot of the points in there where she had to say, Furious, you got to take it. You got to do something with it. You see what I'm saying? And as well as his dad sitting there and telling him, son, you ain't gonna do what them do, but this watch. This watch what happens now. Having that father there when the time where it came that Trey was gonna make the wrong decision. But because his father had instilled in him to be a man, he said, let me out. Let me out. This ain't me. This ain't me. You see what I'm saying? But that don't happen if he didn't have a father instilled in him or what it meant to be a man. And that's what is lacking so much now. They don't want to see that, man. They don't want to make no moves about that. They want to make us look like we crazy, or all we is just having babies everywhere. And what we doing? We playing along to it.
Yeah.
We playing along. Look, I'm telling you, somebody I cannot stand big interview every time. I cannot stand Nick Cannon. I cannot stand him. He makes me utterly sick. Ain't nobody should be on TV bragging about having no 12 kids from all these different women. Why is that mess on TV, man? What is that bragging about? These boys in the NFL, they sitting there and I want to say something else. These folks sitting on here, such and such got 10 kids, and such and such got 11 kids, and we sitting there just like we proud of this crap. Come on, man. Where's this shit? Hold on. I love all your kids, but this ain't nothing we should be promoting here.
Talk, sir.
You know what I'm saying? Love or hate LeBron. I don't know the man personally, but I respect him. He has his wife and he has his kids. So if he want to get his son in the NBA and he got that kind of pull, do what you got to do. Hey, all the rest, do something. But you got these jokers on television and these jokers counting your kids, and you sitting here like this something to be proud of. There's something to be proud of. This ain't nothing to be proud of. What you a breeder or something? Come on, yeah, thank you. What, you a breeder? What is this mess you doing? And they'll keep throwing more money, throwing some more money, keep them on television. Why do you think this junk keeps going? It keeps going. Why? Because you know what? It trickle down effect is what we see.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I dare say if you poll the young ladies that are working strip clubs, I guarantee the majority of them with no daddy involved. None. Ask these young ladies who's showing their body to everybody. Did they ever have a man, a father in their life to tell them, hey, you're beautiful. I love you. Hey, have some value for yourself. Don't do that. You know what I'm saying? We lost, man. We lost without our fathers. We are totally lost without our fathers, man, because we don't have the head. The body just doing whatever. We don't have the head. And the head, or the thing that sickens me the most is, you got kids, but you father the year with somebody else's kids. Huh?
My goodness.
One thing the Lord blessed me with is my dad. I brag on him. I love him. But my dad did not know his dad. His dad died when he was a child. But that instilled something in him that he wanted to be a father. He wanted to make sure when he had kids that he was there because he didn't have it. So not having it is not an excuse for what you do. You see what I'm saying? Because if you was the kid that didn't get picked up, the kid whose father didn't come, you ought to say, I know how that feels, and I'm not going to do it to mine.
I'm not going to do it.
I'm not going to do it to mine. I'm going to be there for everything. I like what Jay said, man. I go back and look at pictures from the time each one of my children, all three of my kids, I was there in the birth room when they got here. And ain't nobody had to go find me. I wasn't under a tree getting drunk nowhere. I wasn't nowhere getting high. I went over another girl's house. But I was there each time my wife gave birth to each one of those kids. I was standing right there with them. And I'm there for them now. You see what I'm saying? And that's important. The best hood, what you said, Jay, fatherhood. And we gotta take that like with a badge of honor. And not just making babies. Not all of us could have been out here just making babies. But I'm talking about being a father. All that other stuff, man, get for real, man. Nobody don't want to see that. Raise your kids. Do what you got to do. They're yours. Don't get me wrong. Thank God for them. But this ain't nothing to be bragging and boasting on. This ain't something that somebody else should aspire to be. You know what I'm saying? I go back and look at old this Cosby Show, and I know, we don't want to talk about Bill Cosby for the stuff he did, but I'll tell you one thing: the Cosby Show was a good show.
Mm-hmm.
His show was a good show.
That's right.
What's the one came? What he spin off after that when they went? How many? How much on the black HBCUs? What's the name went up when you had
A Different World.
Different World. You had people that ain't never. Man, I want. You mean that's what college like? You mean that's what they do? Okay. Because of that, we as kids So, hey, college is something cool to go to. You feel what I'm saying? And now, look what we got on television. Utterly trash, bro. It's trash. I'm off my soapbox.
No, brother, stay on it, man. So, as mentioned, I'm a lover of statistics, man. I love putting things up there. And before we segue into this final question, I wanted to share a few things on the screen that I think are critically important. Just dealing with the Father's presence, man. I think it's so critically important for us to really understand just how important our role is. And there may be a father out there who is listening, who it's been a distance, right? You're embarrassed because you've allowed time to go by where you haven't checked in, right? So to you feel like better for me to stay away. I said this to my wife many years ago, and I meant it then. I still mean it now. I said to her, if there comes there comes a point where we don't work out, I'm not ever desiring this or wishing this. If there comes a point we don't work out, another man will never have the pleasure of my children calling him father.
Man, say it.
They will never have the pleasure of calling them father, right? It ain't gonna be no wedding. It's gonna be my daughter in the middle, and I'm gonna be on one side and stepdad on the other side. It's never gonna have that moment, right? I can't stop her if she decides to move on, right? But my children gonna always know. Now, having said that, I'm not speaking that our marriage don't work out. God has blessed us tremendously, but it's the reality of it all is there is a domino effect when a father makes the decision to disappear, right? That child is impacted. Years ago, I got a chance to speak at a domestic violence summit, and I went and I spoke as someone who grew up in that environment. I went and spoke, and I vented toward the end of my speech by saying, I'm getting tired of coming to these events, and number one, I'm sick and tired of domestic violence to begin with. I said, but I'm tired of these events where there's no attention put on the impact of this on children, right? Well, we got to realize that when a child or children grow up in that environment, that creates an effect on them that will impact them for years to come, right? With every trauma, there is trigger. I grew up in Los Angeles. Every earthquake can have hundreds of aftershocks based on that one earthquake. With trauma comes triggers, right? You can be in your adulthood with your own family, and something from your childhood can be triggered based on something you encounter. And because we don't encourage our men, as Jay mentioned about self-care, where we don't do that, we're always on the grind, always working, always trying to provide, that we don't think about the impact of a diminished man, of a drained man. Ash, I'm so glad you brought up the Nick Cannon example, right? Because not only the Nick Cannon thing deplorable, but if you go further into that, these women whom he have children by outside of Mariah Carey, they all signed a drafted agreement by him that said things like, "You will not speak ill of me publicly. You will get along with the other baby mama." You're agreeing to that. This is a contractual situation, right? When they asked him, "Why did you have this many kids?" He got diagnosed with lupus. And so to him, he felt like his lifespan is going to be shortened. So he wanted to make sure his legacy was out there. There is no reality. Then months later, he was interviewed and he was saying that he find it very difficult to be at all things for his children. Right now, we have to understand that every single day in America, there is a Bernard Hudson, a Roosevelt Rogers, a Richard Ashe, a Julius Harris, a Derek McGee, et cetera, et cetera. But we get up, we do right by our families, we go to work, we come home, we do right by our marriages, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And yet there are times when we're doing consistently is looked at as being old fashioned, whereas when men are out there having a lot of children, right, that's promoted, right? One of the worst thing that ever happened to television, right, is the reality TV. Number one, it's never real, right? It's always concocted. If you watch some of those shows, sometimes we always come across looking bad. As Black women, you're always loud and feisty and arguing. As Black men, you looked at as being whoremongers, so on and so forth. And so we have to understand that there is an attack. There is an attack, and that attack is critically important for us to acknowledge and to address. From the church perspective, I want to say to the clergy who may be listening this evening that we have a responsibility to speak in truth to power. Now, I'm not saying pacify no man. I'm not doing that at all. But when you have that brother in church who is leading his family, he is actively in worship, he has a heart of service, right? We ought to make sure that we are affirming that brother and appreciating that brother, make sure we're acknowledging that brother in a major way. Think about these young men. As mentioned, my son, we moved him into his dorm on Thursday. And helping him gets up to his dorm room and helping unpack. He asked me to go with him to the orientation. Not an indictment against his mother. He wanted me to go with him, so I went to the parent part of the orientation, right? And he went to the student part of the orientation. So I'm in this setting, and there were a lot of fathers there, but the number of fathers there with their sons was much less than fathers there with their daughters, right? But I'm grateful to have seen fathers there. But here is the reality. The reality of it all is my son knows this, that I'm never going to dance around the truth of what's going on. This world, for some of us, we have to realize we have two strikes in this world. For some people, we are black and we are male. And in some people's eyes, those are two strikes against us, right? So I had to tell my son, when you go into a department store, take your hood off, keep your hands visible, right? When you are in certain places, right, and you feel uncomfortable, get up out of there. You have to have those conversations that others may not have to have, right? My son knows that the goal is to get home safely. We'll work out everything else after the fact. And so I want to use Ash's last statements and then what I just shared to really jump into that the last question that we have, that I really want to make sure each of us have an opportunity to talk through, that I think is so critically important for each of us tonight to really have this critical conversation. And so it's the question here of, how do you balance your family with all your responsibilities? And this is really more, brothers, for y'all to answer, right? Each of us on here, we are pastors, we are husbands, we are fathers. We're bivocational. For those who don't know what bivocational is that we are in at least two different vocations, right? So we are pastors. We're also in the marketplace in some capacity, right? Where we work a full-time job as well. Some of us, we're also entrepreneurs. Some of you are grandfathers, where there's a lot that goes on, right? So you are a major asset in a lot of areas in life where people really expect you to show up, need you to show up, and you show up. But how do you all balance family with all of that? And so, Ro, I'm gonna start with you, man. How do you make sure that you show up? As you mentioned, you're Trent's dad at the football game, not just the football game. You're Trent's dad at the DYG events your son is at, right? You're Trent's dad at the fundraisers, right? And so it's not just the football game. But guess what? We're gonna be loud at the football games too. We're gonna make sure that we're loud for them. We're not gonna be disrespectful. We're gonna make sure that we're loud, because what people don't realize is that when our sons or daughters know that we show up, right, they expect it. And when you begin to cheer for your child, if you watch the child, there's a confidence that kicks in that child when mom and dad, especially when dad is cheering for them, right? There's something about them. My daughter to this day, who's 14, whenever she gets a brand new outfit or gets her hair done, gets her nails done, the first thing she does, she comes to me and she shows me her nails, her outfit, her hair, right? And she waits on me to say something. Sometimes I joke around like, baby, I don't like that. And her whole face changes. And I said, I'm just joking. I really love that. It's that affirmation. But if we fail as fathers of daughters, you know what happened? They go looking for love in all the wrong places. They'll be at the mall and that boy saying, hey, shawty, come here. And they'll respond to that foolishness because they think that that's real love. But when we have built our daughters up to know who they are and know who we are, guess what? Not only will they not stop for that joker won't waste his time because he sees us there, right? So there is a balancing act, and it can be weary, it can be exhausting, but it's necessary. So, Ro, starting with you, man, how do you balance family with all of your responsibilities?
So my answer is going to be real simple, but I think it'll be profound. My family comes first.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, before pastoring, before anything on my job, we all have responsibilities that we know we have to meet. But those in the church, those on my job, know my family is first. If my family has something going on and I can be there, I'm gonna be there. And so Jay said something years ago, man, and that thing stuck with me, man, and it kind of changed my mindset, man, where he said, I don't want to be the world's greatest pastor and be a horrible father at home, or be a horrible husband at home. And so my family, I think we got to make sure our families come first, man. You know, this may sound crazy, man, but you know, we really schedule stuff on our calendars.
Yes, sir. There it is.
You know, we have to put stuff on our calendars to make sure stuff doesn't get missed. You know, date night with the wife, you know, things with the kids. And whenever my kids have something going on, man, they send us calendar invites. You know, my daughter, man, sends me calendar invites to her doctor's appointment that I don't have to go to, but she sends them to me. And so, you know, I think that's really how I keep balance, is making sure that they're priority, making sure that they're first, and being present. But then on the flip side, you know, my family also has to understand that there will be sometimes that we have to make the sacrifice and we have to make that judgment call, you know, where we do have to do something ministry related, or we do have to do something work related. But we have conversation. And so they understand, you know, that sometimes I may not be able to make it, but I don't make that a habit.
Yes, sir.
You know, one of the most deflating feelings, man, is when my kids have something to do and I can't be there. You know, and so I just make sure, man, I do everything I humanly possible can to be there for my kids, and to be there for my family. So I'll sum it up with that.
I love that. Bernard, how do you balance it, man?
I think it's one word, and I think we've been hitting on it all night, and Roosevelt just hit on it as well. But I want to be present. That's what I tried to be, you know, all of her young life through school. You know, I'm at in a kind of a different role because I'm a stepfather, but I was going to make sure that she wouldn't know any different in how I treated her, as if she was my own flesh and blood. And so that's what I tried to live up to. I wanted, even if she didn't hear me, she could look around and she knew I was going to be somewhere present. She could look around and she could find me. I wanted to strive to be present, and I tried to be inclusive. I never made a decision that did not include her. And so, and I want to go back to something, and y'all can probably see the theme throughout this. I wanted to be to her what I didn't have.
Yes, sir.
And so with my dad not being there and knowing how that felt, I didn't ever want her to have to feel that. So I wanted to make sure that I was present at all times and that she would know that she's supported. Now, whatever she grows up to be and whatever she makes that out to be, that's her decision to be able to make. But I wanted her to know that I was going to always be there. I was going to always be present. I was going to always support, but I was going to be consistent too. So when things were good, I'm going to cheer you. But when it's going wrong and it's going off the rails, she need to know, hey, this ain't going right. You know, this isn't how this should be going. So I want it to be an active part in her life. And I think, you know, even up to this point, I think that's been done.
Amen. Jump on in, brother. How do you do the balance?
I think being consistent, and like all of us have said tonight, being present. I look back over even my career in law enforcement. I've missed out on opportunities for advancement because I was not going to do what needed to be done on that end and lose my family. I can remember I was in an interview one time and they asked me, what do you do in the community? I said, be a great father to my 3 kids. And they was like, huh? I said, what good for me to be in the community and be father of the year out there and my kids don't know me at home, or my wife don't know me, or I'm on my 3rd marriage. So I missed out on a lot of things in that because I was not going to jeopardize my position as father. I was not going to wait until I retired and nobody could stand me and nobody wanted to be around me because they don't even know who I am.
You know,
So
you are.
you know they don't know you, and I'm speaking to I know a lot of people in my profession who family don't have can't stand them. I mean, because you chose everything else over them. it's a demanding position, and all of us have this to a certain extent. But between that and as well as being a pastor, I have a lot of things that pull at me. But I got to make sure that when it's family time and when it's time to be with the kids, it's their time. You know what I'm saying? I was not gonna schedule vacations with church events. No, no, I've been there and done that. I've been there for
Yes,
that.
sir.
Where, oh, okay, we're going to what's the name, but we're going to church. That ain't vacation. That ain't vacation. Why I gotta get my church shoes and put them in here too? You know what I mean? Okay, we going to church Friday night. We're like, hold on, that ain't vacation. You see what I'm saying? So yes, I've been that kid. I've been on the trips that, you know what, they kind of coincide when we got to go to no. We're gonna do that, but our time is our time. You see what I'm saying? And I made sure that was one thing I was gonna do. If I did this too, fellas. I'm gonna turn this loose. I even trickled this down to all the kids of the church. I told all of them, whatever extra activity they had, I told each and every one of them, I'm gonna show up for you.
That's right.
Each and every one of them. I'm the father figure for this group of people that God has blessed me with. I want to make sure that the kids in here know. So I showed up for soccer. I showed up for cheerleading events. I showed up for everything, for all the kids that was there. If they had something they did that was extracurricular, I wanted to make sure, hey, you come to church and I thank you for that, but I want to show up for you too. You see what I'm saying? So, and it's intentional. Like Jay said something at the beginning of this. You can be there but not there. You see what I'm saying? You can be physically there, but not there. You know, these here we can be in the house, but
Yeah.
we ain't there. You see
That's
what I'm saying?
good.
So being intentional about certain things, as well as I like what B said. He as a father, I know this. It's certain things that my kids they take to their mom. You know, they talk to their mom about everything. You know what I'm saying? And I don't begrudge that because I was the same way. We go talk to my mom, but we know dad didn't play no games. So when you went to him, it had to be about business. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how it was. So I know that. So it be certain things that she may know or whatever, and then when things kind of going off the rail beat, and all of a sudden I get the nudge like, hey, you need to hold on, where was I when y'all were doing this planning? You know what I'm saying? But I'm glad to be there too. I'm glad that they do have a father that is there. That, in other words, when things may not be going the way they want to go, you know what I'm saying? They be like, oh no, holler at dad about that. You see what I'm saying? Because he gonna take care of it. And so I appreciate that. But you got to be intentional, man. You got to be there intentionally. You can't just be around, but you got to get involved, get in it. You know what I'm saying? Look at it. Some things, you know, those of us who have daughters, sometimes them talks with your daughters are a little different. They're a little different, but you know what? You got to be there for them too. You know what I'm saying? That, you know what? Because hey, you got to be. Hey, some things you might not be comfortable with, whatever. But hey, man, you got to get over that. You got to be able to talk to her and be able to help build her up too. Because I will want my daughters to be with young men that are better than me.
Oh, that's good.
I want that. I want them to be better than me. I want to be the standard. You see what I'm saying? And being that standard, and I want the young men that involved in their lives to be better men than I am. You know what I'm saying? Because I want the best for them. So, you know, like I said, it's a lot of it is intentional, and you're gonna have to. You can't be at everything, but you know what? You best believe you better be at the things you can be at. You know what I'm saying? You better be at them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes, we got certain responsibilities. Yes, there's certain things you got to do. Yeah, we understand that. Yes, there's gonna be some disappointment sometime in our kids' lives that maybe I can't be for everything. But boy, you best believe you can't miss everything.
Yes,
You can't miss everything because we all make decisions and choices to be where we want to be at.
Jay, it's on me, you man, to wrap us up, brother.
Yeah, man. I'm just trying to click. Wow, man. That's all good, bro. Man, love y'all. And let me say this too, man, before we go off, man. Man, salute to y'all. I mean, I have great respect for y'all as fathers, bro. And I think that it's so important that fathers have other fathers that are friends, man, like y'all, man, because
Ooh.
we sharpen each other, man. I think there's an old proverb that says that I can look at your circle and tell, what your life gonna look like, later on. And so, man, if somebody got to look at my circle and determine what my life gonna look like, man, I'm in good shape because of y'all, man. So,
And
but so how do we balance, man? I think this, man, for me is by understanding that my family is not for sale, bro. They're not for sale, man. They are the most important thing. Um, Again, I think I just said earlier, more important than ministry, more important than this business stuff, man, and all of that, because at the end of the day, so just say, for example, like who I am to my church. If I stop pastoring tomorrow, in 90 days or less, they'll get a new pastor. If me and Freed are removed from these businesses that God has blessed us with, somebody else gonna take that on.
mm-hmm.
But if I'm removed from the life of my children, bro, I mean, so Ro has lost a mother. Man, grief is tough, bro. It's real. So when we're removed from our kids, man, that's a lifelong struggle for them. Lifelong, bro. So I mean that's just how important we are. So and my wife, man, she helps with the balance, man. My wife, she'll make sure that she schedules stuff. She's way better than that, than I am. Getting things on the calendar, making sure we stop and say, okay, look, we gone. She's like, hey, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. Okay, baby, let's go. And it's because sometimes I just get in this little mode where, like, man, I don't want to go nowhere. You're tired. I just stay and hang out here. But no, sometimes you have to get away, man. But I do want to say this before I go off. So there's a book I got, man, because we talked about fatherhood by Malik Blade called Whole Brother. And in that book, man, I taught this to the men in my church. He talks about the 4 different types of father. He talks about the absent father, which is the father that lives outside the home. He talked about the present but distant father. That present but distant father thinks that he's doing a job, but of course, because we're physically present. That was me at one point. And then listen at this. So we know that mothers cannot be fathers.
That's it.
They cannot, right? But he talks about the mother as father. But because in other words, there are mothers who feel like they had to, for whatever reason, man, they had to step into that role, right? But so typically he said that she's having a difficult time trying to raise boys. And I want to read this, man, then we'll go off just 10 seconds. Watch this. He said, because the father is gone, some mothers feel the need to overcompensate, setting aside their own skills and gifts. They overcorrect for not being a man, but they misunderstand manhood as aggressiveness. They're overly antagonistic with their son in order to keep him from being soft, not realizing that they are hurting their son more than helping him. Once again, these mothers shouldn't have to take on this role anyway. Watch this, brothers. If a mother compensates for the lack of masculinity in the home by acting in what she perceives to be masculine ways, it deprives the son of the feminine presence in his life and confuses him as he looks for his masculine identity. So there is when mothers feel like they got to step in that role and be strong, and the kids miss the feminine presence. Man, I wanted to read that, man. I just thought that was just powerful, man. When I saw that, then you got of course the toxic father, and that's present, but that's present but not developed, and that's where I am, man. I mean, that's my mission, bro, is to is to see men, fathers, man, be more healthier, man. And because again, I don't want to wound my son, man. And when I wasn't healthy, I did. I've said some stuff, done some things, man, you know what I'm saying, where I had to go back and get it right with him, man, because I wasn't healthy. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't where I needed to be emotionally as a man. So again, like I said, man, I did my work, man. I'm free now, bro. I'm good. And they love me again.
There you go. Amen, brother.
But I never wanted to wound them, man. And I had to learn this, that nothing is wrong with applying discipline, but I can't apply discipline if I hadn't first applied love.
That's good.
So you got to do that first, man. So you can't correct if you hadn't first loved them, man. So again, but man, I think this has been great, bro. Derek, thank you, man, for just pushing us here, man. I love y'all, man, and I think that this circle, man, every day, bro. I mean, God just does something awesome, man. It just helps us, man, to just be better, man. So that's sign off there.
Yeah, I got one more thing.
Go ahead. Go ahead, E. Yes, sir.
So I want to kind of end it with this. On Mother's Day, you couldn't get in no restaurant.
None.
Without doing some planning. On Father's Day, you could have went wherever you wanted to go. That's all I'm gonna say.
Why is that, man? Y'all know. 27. Why is that?
You already talked about it, man, because it's I joke with my church. I was like, I said Father's Day is that day where you give Daddy the tie that went along with the shirt and tie combo you used to have for Christmas. Right? You finally give him the tie from December shirt, right? Like, or you buy him tube socks, right? Like that's when you give him that, right? It's that afterthought gift, right? You dare not throw something together at the last minute to give it to Mama. You better have that planned out, man. And and it's a I don't know. So this year, I told my kid, I'm like, listen, I've never been a big gift guy. Part of it is how I grew up, right? When you don't grow up with a lot of resources, you kind of make do. I said, I want heart gifts. I want you guys to tell me what I mean. So they actually did that. They wrote, and they still bought me stuff. My wife had already ordered some stuff, right? So they didn't take that back. Got them green and whites, Ash. Got them green and whites, right? So those ain't going back. But they did handwritten notes, man, and that means way more to me, right? Because it's actually their words in print speaking to who I am and what they mean, what I mean to them. And so I value and appreciate that moment, that contribution, that consideration. I want to sign off tonight. I want to thank every last one of you for being a part of our show tonight. I want to sign off tonight's show. One, by again, thanking my covenant brothers. What you all have been blessed to hear and witness. This is our daily conversation. Most times through text, but we talk to each other every day throughout the day through text. God really blessed us to have a covenant brotherhood where we genuinely want the best for each other. And we're not talking about for pastors. Talk about for Bernard, for Roosevelt, for Richard, for Julius, for Derek. We care about each other as by our names, by our character, by our conduct, and we encourage each other in that regard. Our wives also know each other really well. These are my children's uncles, right? So that's how they acknowledge them as uncles in that regard, and it means a lot to them, right? And so they're a part of my children's village, for example, and that matters to me. But we are brothers. Each of us have our own story of how we become who we are. My father was inconsistent when I was growing up, but I was blessed with an amazing grandfather, my maternal grandfather, and I had amazing uncles, especially my Uncle Floyd, man, who to this day is still my dude, right? But the Lord allowed my days and my dad's days to roll on to where now we have a really, really good relationship. And I'm very grateful to the God, for reconciliation and for the power of forgiveness and restoration in that regard. But it was said earlier that I learned later, right? Somebody said it earlier, but I learned it later where T.D. Jakes wrote a book years ago called Emotions. And in that book, he had a chapter, I think it was chapter 5, called Finding the Fathers. And a question was posed in that chapter in that book, which have you ever thought that your father is the father he saw growing up? right? I didn't know anything about my paternal father, my paternal grandfather. My dad began to tell me things about my paternal grandfather, right? And so I realized my dad was on a job training as a father, right? And so he shared a lot of things with me as I've gotten older. I have a better understanding of things. I have a better level of forgiveness and grace, but also I understand my dad better. I've always jokingly said my dad is me as a grandfather, man. I look at my kids sometimes like y'all don't even realize how spoiled y'all have it with him. But I'm grateful because the Lord allowed me to now have a better understanding of what he had to endure to get to where he is now. And so that relationship really, really does matter in that regard, right? TD Jake said these words in my wrap up. He said, your blessing is your children's normal, right? Think about things that we had to go without or sacrifice. Our children have never had that experience. We may tell them about it. They really don't understand in that regard. When I tell you guys, I've been around Richard Ash Sr. and Richard Ash II. I've been around the three Richards. I've seen how Richard Ash on here deals with his father. I see that relationship, right? I see relationship that Richard, I know his son now lives in Georgia. I've seen relationship between father and son, right? And I can appreciate that. I see how we are with our children, right? I remember when I first met Jay and he and Frida had Jamal. I remember, right, us looking like little boys as you're raising them. I look at your young men now in that relationship, right? The Lord has allowed us to come a long way, man. So I want to encourage y'all, but also want to encourage fathers out there who are listening, who are watching, to encourage your hearts, man, that if the Lord gives you breath for another day, that's a day that you have time to reconcile, restore, and further invest into the lives of your children. So never allow yourself to assume that you have run out of time, that you don't have time. I want to tell you that that's not true. You have time to course correct, right? Because no matter what you may think, your children still need you. No matter what their age are, they still need you. Jay said earlier about identity, right? Jesus said those words. I think it was Rhoda said it. He said those words to his son in Matthew 3. He hadn't done anything else yet. But think about us, right? Think about the responsibility we have of speaking life and affirmation to our children. So I want to implore to all the fathers out there, that those of you who are on the job every single day, we salute you, man. We encourage you. We speak well of you. For those who have fallen off, we want to get back up, man. We want to undergird you and encourage you that if you have breath in your body, you still have time to get back in the game and still get back into that relationship. And trust me, it's necessary. To the women out there who are listening, I'm sorry for whatever that man did to you, but don't punish your child for the anger you have toward that man, right? Make sure that you allow that child and that father to have a relationship, because if not, you're going to create a damaged child that for years they're going to have to overcome that, right? I think that's very, very important. Again, I don't know what all that took place in that regard, but I do think it's important that if you guys can be amicable with each other, it's for the betterment of the child or the children. Prepare to sign off. I want to say to all of you that family should always come first, right? But fathers, remember this. We have more to give than the third Sunday in June of each year. We are fathers every day, not just on Father's Day. Blessings be upon all of you tonight. That is Dr. Bernard E. Hudson, the pastor of the Arnett Chapel AME Church in Quincy, Florida. My brother Roosevelt Rogers III, the pastor of the Old Jerusalem Missionary Baptist Church in Havana, Florida. That's Richard Ash II, the pastor of the Net Church of God in Christ in Quincy, Florida. That is Julius Harris, the pastor of the New Jerusalem Missionary Baptist Church in Havana, Florida. And I am Derek McGee, the pastor of Bible-Based Church in Tallahassee. Five of us together make Covenant Brothers. Tonight has been Conversation with the Covenant Brothers. We salute you. We thank you. We say God bless you all. Have an amazing remainder of your evening. Blessings be upon all of you in the name of Jesus. God bless you all. Have a great night.